We're back in Champlain, New York. There's something attracting about this place that keeps bringing me back. John Trombley, how are you?
Pretty good. And
Heather,
yourself?
how are you?
Fine, thank you.
We're at Modern Mechanical Fab in Inc., right?
Inc., yep.
And I just spent some time up here a very short time ago with Howard Lamberton to write an article for Strictly Business about Susie, the Susie USA here. We've been here several times. There's a history here with Calvin. He twitches every time he walks in this building. 9 years, Calvin, at Sheridan and at Harris. Yeah.
Yep.
After that, and this, it's funny because people say, "Oh, you're going to the Kimpex building,"
Yeah.
or "You're going to the Harris building." They don't know what to call this building.
And what is the Susie building?
Yeah, and what is the Susie building?
Yeah.
They have no idea. Walnut Street? Where's
Yeah.
Walnut Street?
On Elm Street.
Yeah,
it's
on
more
Elm
like Elm
Street.
Street, yeah.
You know, it was hard for me taking pictures of this complex to figure out which pictures they might use in an article because it's so huge. You try to get on one end and shoot all the way down, you can't even see the other end of this complex.
There is a lot of square footage here.
Last time we went to your house, which is located in the town of
Champlain.
Champlain, we were doing solar power.
Yep.
Right?
And we're making solar power.
And a lot of things were fascinated. I was fascinated by a lot of things in that interview. Are you finished with your house yet, or are you going to add something new, Heather?
You have to talk to him.
It's just, now it's upgrade.
Yours was the place where the lightning hit,
Yep.
Yes.
and I've told people, of course, I embellish things just a little bit.
Yeah.
I told people about, you think groundhogs can dig?
Yeah.
You ought to see what this thing did through the woods and around.
It's amazing. Yeah.
And what damage it did. Then we went down cellar, and you had, see how my memory works today, you had a battery-operated backup sump pump in your cellar.
Absolutely.
And because of that, I don't know how many people you've inspired today, but you
Yeah.
inspired me to install one in my cellar.
It's a smart
It
move.
came in handy just last month.
Yeah, yep. It worked. I had a freezing problem, but the alarm went off and it got things moving. So
It does make a noise.
we did save our flood again. So
I sleep so soundly. It went off the first night I put it in. I didn't hear it. My wife said,
Yeah.
"What the heck is that screeching noise down cellar?"
So good.
just needed some adjustment.
Yeah, some
Yeah.
adjustment. We readjusted to one pump higher than
Yeah.
the other one and so on. That's great. So your solar power's working good.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You've built just about everything. You didn't build your actual house, did you?
Yes, I did.
You did?
Yep.
With his
Yeah.
father.
My father and I built it.
Yeah, but what was your role?
Taking
Just
care
over
of
there,
the young
over there.
baby.
Yeah. We
Had a newborn and I was
Newborn.
expecting again, so.
were busy.
Really? So you have two?
Yep.
That's great. That's a nice spot. We had fun talking about solar power. A lot of things on the cutting edge about that, solar power and wind power and so on.
There's still a lot to be learned about it, especially on the thermal side,
Yeah.
the water.
And I had forgotten until I came to Modern Mechanical today that John Fillion's the engineer here. I've known John forever and ever.
Yeah.
And of course, Cindy and I worked together in the probation department
Mm-hmm.
for a long time, long before they were married and their baby was born.
Yep.
So it's old home week up here today. How long have you been associated with this organization?
Since 1999, we
Come
formed
on,
it. Yep.
11 years.
11 years.
So it's doesn't the website say an all women owned organization?
It's a certified
Certified
woman-owned
woman
business.
business.
We got our certification 2 years ago.
When women own it, it's
Yeah.
certified. You could
A lot of
count it.
paperwork,
Yeah, it
about
was-
that thick, but
It
it
has
was a process.
been 11 years, Heather, already.
Yep. But just since we've only been certified for 2 years as a woman owned, but
Yeah.
11 years we've been
That
incorporated.
catches your attention on the website
Yeah.
immediately, and
Yeah.
I cheer because I'm all for the distaff side.
Thanks.
I bow to the superior gender every day of my life. Sometimes I even crawl and grovel. So why this business? Why did you start this business?
Well, I started welding in high school through the BOCES program,
Well, CV
and
Tech.
I grew up on a
CV
farm,
Tech
so
now, yes.
welding was always part of
Oh,
it.
sure.
And, I like building stuff. Not so much with wood, but with metal. It's more forgiving.
So you started this just not on a whim. You were already doing
No,
jobs.
I was working construction as a pipe welder and doing welding jobs, odd jobs at home. And one day an opportunity came up to build some equipment, and I took the big plunge. You know, we got one big contract to get us started, and
That's what it takes.
yeah, and I wouldn't sign a 6-month lease. I didn't want to go over 6 months. You know, Bob Morgan was in charge of the place.
Bob was. We did a nice
Yeah,
tour with
he's
Bob.
a very nice guy, and-
7 years ago, maybe, Calvin?
Nice
It's
guy.
Yeah,
time flies when
I
you're
was,
having fun. It's long before Howard got
Yeah,
here, and he's
I
been
was-
here 6 years.
I was afraid to sign a year contract, so we went with a 6-month, and it's been 11 years now. So we're still here, and we're signing the 1-year contracts now.
Are you really?
I believe it was. Yeah, yeah. We're not afraid anymore. So
People have no clue
Yep.
what you do, and that's why we're here. When we say you fabricate things, well, I can make paper airplanes. That has nothing like the stuff you do. And I've seen some of the stuff you've done at your house. I've seen the fruits of your labor and other buildings and other projects. You've tackled some pretty ambitious stuff since you started this business.
it's pretty amazing. There's a lot of custom. We don't know what to call it. It's hard to categorize it, so we call it stuff.
Stuff
Works
that's
good.
one of my favorite words.
Seems to be a word that comes up a lot.
the whole
so.
world. But there aren't very many tasks that you're afraid to tackle, Heather.
Well, I don't do the tackling. I'm more in the office
That's
and helping out.
tackling.
Yeah.
Believe me,
Payroll
you're-
and taxes aren't a favorite, I'm sure, but John's, he's behind every project here, and nothing is something that we can't do. He's always up for a challenge, and
Yeah, we enjoy
very
a challenge.
talented, and
I read every word on all the websites connected
Yeah.
with this business, and that's the theme I get.
Yeah.
We're not afraid. Come and talk to us.
Yep.
We'll figure out a way to
work
make
it
it
out.
for you.
We have the equipment and the people, and you got to surround yourself with good people. And
have a meeting.
we have a
put your
good
heads
crew, a
together,
small
and-
crew right now, but it seems to be working.
And you've got a big corner of this building. How many square feet in here?
I think we have like 12,000 or 13,000 square feet now. So
You think you'll
we-
ever need all of it?
no,
No.
we're happy where we are. We don't want to be real big, but we do a lot of specialized stuff. So it's you don't need a big crew for that. Just a lot of nice tools.
How big a staff? How many employees all told?
There's
There's 8
myself
of
and
us or
John,
9 of
and
us
then we
right
have
now.
Heidi Forch in the office. She helps with the purchasing and
We saw Heidi on the way
following
in,
up,
and
starting the job
our
folders.
favorite
and
engineer, John Fillion.
follows the jobs through and makes sure everything's here that we've ordered. And John Fillion is our mechanical engineer. He's been with us for I don't know how many years now. I can't.
Oh, at least 4 or 5.
Oh God, more than that. Probably.
More than that, when I first met
much,
John,
yeah.
he was getting done
Time
at one
flies.
job
Time flies.
and
He was-
wondering
yeah.
what he was going to do for his next job.
Well, that's how he ended up here. Was I met him through. He was working at Des Moines, and I did a little bit of work for them there. And he sent me an email out of the blue when he was getting done. I never felt comfortable hiring somebody that already had a good job. Because I wouldn't sign a 6-month lease.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
So he was running out of work, and I just thought it was a good time to try that because Lord knows I needed help at that time.
Yeah, things happen for a reason. So.
Isn't that amazing how I've always said there are no coincidences, especially when you look back on things and say, yeah, I'm glad that worked out that way, and I'm glad we were so-and-so.
Been a good experience for everybody. I hope so.
It's added a really good dimension to the company with he's a very meticulous, and he's brought in. We're starting a certification program now, and before it
Welding
was
certification.
fly by the seat of my pants type thing
course.
and do as
That's how you
little on the
start.
drawings as I could,
Oh,
and
yeah.
as little detail, but we could build nice stuff. But now we're taking it the other direction. He follows through with all the details, and he's a big asset here for what we're building.
What does a typical day involve, besides getting out of bed and trying to get that first cup of coffee past your lips in the morning?
You may not get the coffee at home. You probably
No.
get it right here.
Uh-oh,
But when he comes
uh-oh.
in to read the paper early in the morning, he's out the door.
Yeah, between 6 and 6:30 is my peaceful time with the paper. I come in, nobody else is here, and
Me too.
start figuring out
Guys
what I'm
come
going
in
to do.
at 7
Yeah.
o'clock, and the day begins.
So you don't have a huge staff of people here
No.
working on a regular basis?
No.
I imagine if you get a big project, you might have
We've
to put
had
a
up
few
to
more.
12 or 13 people.
Have you
but
really?
We used to work on installations too, process piping and everything. But
Oh, yes.
I've gotten away from that. I just want to do shop work now. It's more controlled and smaller staff. just seems to work better. We have a lot of big equipment and tools to work with.
And they don't go out of the shop; they stay here. So
Yeah, everything's done in the shop.
Well, it's nice to have the space and the
yeah.
tools to do it right
Yeah, and the
here.
weather's always the same inside of here, so.
and the
there's-
overhead cranes help us to
Yeah,
get
it's
the
just-
projects finished.
Calvin and I first saw those big boilers that heat this place.
Yeah.
We first came in. One, he says, works for natural gas, and one's for a backup, and
Yeah.
one doesn't operate anymore. And there's a lot of great old equipment hanging around here, and a couple of pretty good maintenance building people who
Yeah.
work in this complex.
Yes, this building is quite aged, but it's holding together pretty good.
So you guys had to go and buy one piece of equipment at a time till you had what you needed?
That's what we've
Saying,
done.
okay, do we want
Yeah.
to sign for that today? Or we wanna
Usually
put our-
one large piece a year. Usually used. Most of my bigger stuff I buy used to take a little gamble, but it usually works out for us. There's a lot of used equipment on the market right now.
Now we'll talk a little bit here, and then we'll walk around and look at
Yeah.
some things. But give us just a clue about some kinds of things that you might fabricate in this shop.
Well, our biggest thing seems to be the stainless steel process related equipment. You know, we've done a lot of work for Wyeth, which is now Pfizer, and over the years, I mean, I've been designing and building stuff for them. It's pretty much steady. There's always something to be built, and we had all of our apples in one basket for a lot of years, and then when things slowed down, it really opened our eyes. And you know, Heidi's helped a lot with marketing and finding new customers.
Marketing is an essential part of the whole thing, especially when the economy
The learning curve.
goes
Yeah.
right in the old well like
Yeah.
it did around here. Huh?
Well, being understaffed, you know, we've always just done it with as few people as we can, and you don't have time for that. And if you're always busy, you know, if you're staying busy, really busy with what you have, it's hard to go out and look for more, and you don't really need to until that goes away. You know, we did have it go away a few years ago, and it really opened our eyes to what we need to do. And it's coming around where we have quite a few customers now that keep coming back, and new opportunities all the time.
Is it mostly businesses within a certain radius of this shop, or do you fabricate stuff for people
We
far away
have
from here?
shipped items to Puerto Rico,
Yeah.
but
No
that's
kidding.
again for the
For Wyeth,
pharmaceutical
it's
company again.
Pharmaceutical
Oh.
companies, food and beverage, you know, food and dairy. We've worked at Ben and Jerry's quite a bit.
Have you really?
Yep.
Faye yogurt and
There's a
I'm trying to think of another company.
Platco in Plattsburgh is a
sure.
good customer of
Yeah, yeah,
ours.
right.
Yep. We do a lot of water jet cutting for them, and we even work with Jeffords once in a while. They'll have us water jet cut for them.
How about that,
we
huh?
try to work with everybody. We use them and they use us, and it's we don't do the same stuff as the others around here. We have our own niche, and so we're not really competing with too many people in this area, which is
When
nice.
it's your company, the
Yeah.
pressure is on.
All the
To
time.
do it right, because guess where the buck stops?
Yeah.
You got it right here, folks.
It's like farming. It's with you 7 days a week.
But it is, whether you like it or
Yeah.
not, and you have to go
Your
for
name's
it.
on it. So.
Yeah.
So you're not afraid to tackle pretty big stuff then?
We've tackled some really big ones in our eyes for the size of our shop. Yeah,
Yeah.
We've done some pretty big projects.
Because we've done a lot of these programs, hundreds over
Yeah,
the years,
yeah.
and Bob before me. But I don't think we've ever been to a fabrication company. So a lot of
Yeah.
our viewers have really no clue what that involves.
Yeah.
But it's called,
Modern mechanical.
I know that, but I
Oh,
mean,
I thought
it's
you-
called making it from the
Okay.
ground up.
Yep.
Yeah.
Starts with
Every
a
little-
concept and an
yeah.
A
idea.
little drawing, a sketch, and
Well, I started out at home. I remember working in my house garage. I bought the old steel from the drive-in in Champlain.
Did you really?
Scrap steel, and I fabricated.
I didn't know that.
You know, I drew up and fabricated my building at home as my first shop, and of course I outgrew that pretty quick.
first job that we did
Yeah.
started in that shop.
Really?
I did it. Yeah, that's where we started and we just outgrew it so fast, and it was. Now it's just a toy garage basically.
So you do some small stuff, some mighty small stuff.
Oh, we do very small
and
stuff.
then some pretty huge. What's the
big
biggest
stuff.
thing you ever made?
I think there was a platform for Faye yogurt in Johnstown. There's a brand new Greek yogurt factory in Johnstown,
Oh,
New York.
no kidding! I
It's
did
local.
not
You'll
know
see
that.
it in the grocery
Yeah,
stores.
we
I haven't been there in so
Yeah.
many years. I wouldn't know it.
We built a unloading platform for when the milk comes in on the truck.
Yes.
It was huge, and we had fold down gangways, and JP he designed them all, and
No kidding.
what we did was replace. They had bought a brand new one from a company that does this all the time, and it failed. It was no good, so they asked us to build a new one.
We won't mention
No,
the
they
name of
weren't
that
from around.
company.
Not around
They
here.
were from around here, but you know, and they didn't want us to do a new gangway. They wanted us to use somebody's, you know, why reinvent the wheel? But
That's tough.
we
That's
couldn't
tough.
find one that was made out of stainless that was any good, so we started from scratch and built our own, and it worked out quite well. They were very happy with it.
That was some time ago.
About 3 years now, I think.
A couple of years
Yeah.
at least
Yeah.
before
Yeah.
that.
Now, how I wonder. I know you're serious about marketing, and she's out there busy all the time trying to find jobs. But how would a company like that discover you? Online?
That was through our own. That was before Heidi's time, and
Oh, it was.
when we ran into tough times and we had really no work and lined up nothing, and out of the blue, some consultants got a hold of us, and I don't know what caused me to let them in my office, but they hit us like a hurricane. I mean, they came in with their wallets open, waiting for. It was quite
It was
expensive.
a learning experience, but
They
showed
taught
us
us a lot.
we need to get out on the road.
They really did. And through some of those marketing efforts that they taught us, it was just, you know, cold calls, calling people,
Isn't
trying
that
to be a
amazing?
telemarketer, which,
Knock on your door,
Yeah.
bring your brochures.
and we hooked up with a construction company, and, you know, we got a call back from them. They were actually doing the project down there, and so once they heard about us, we quoted a bunch of stuff. Unfortunately, at that point, the job had already been let out, but the samples they were getting back weren't any good, so they wanted to find somebody else. So we welded some samples up and sent them down to us, and I think it was about 2 or 3 months later they contacted us about building the platform, and after that it was a good project.
Then when you do a good job for somebody, then
Yeah.
word of
You
mouth,
bet.
word of
That's
mouth
right.
takes over. Somebody says, "Hey,
Yeah,
where'd you get that from?"
we haven't had too many that don't call us back. I mean, they're usually when it leaves here,
Reputation
it's
is important,
It's
especially.
very, you know, I got my start because I always like to do a really good job. So I've always pushed the guys to make sure things are done the way I would like them.
Did you know what you were getting into when you married this guy? Did you have a clue?
I knew he was a go-getter.
Yeah.
Well, obviously you are too, and that's why you're at a team. You hardly ever swear at each other.
Well,
We might,
it's 25 years this year, so.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
A quarter of a century sounds better that way.
Doesn't happen a lot these days.
Century.
Yep.
That's amazing. But you're happy with what you're doing. Some days are a lot harder than others.
There's no doubt
Just
about
don't know how
that.
you're going to get the job done or where you're going to find the next job. Don't worry about sound. We love sound. We're good at sound.
We can make plenty of that.
You should have seen us when the first day we went to Plattsburgh Quarries
Yeah.
on the quarry road, and I couldn't hear a thing. We
Yeah.
played it back not knowing if there would be any sound at all except the big engines and
Yeah.
motors. Perfect.
Worked perfect.
As long as you get, we like sound effects.
I think the worst thing with this is I'm stressed when there's too much work, and when there's not enough work, I'm stressed. And you know, just when you have deadlines to meet, it just never seems to end. It's, you know, you would think if there's not a lot of work, it wouldn't be that stressful, or if you had a whole plate full of work, but it just never. Everybody's in a hurry for everything.
There are no stress-free jobs
No.
anymore,
No.
especially not successful
Yeah.
stress-free jobs. You have enough space to store product if you need to
Right.
Yeah.
store
We have
way ahead of
inventory,
time.
Yeah.
You don't keep a huge inventory though, do you? Or do
No,
you?
not really. We keep the stuff that we use a lot, you know, on a whim. We keep that stored up, but we try to buy the products as we need them for the project.
You know, I learned what the word inventory means to a place like Susie USA when I did
Yeah.
my tour with Howard a few weeks ago, and I learned that a lot of these huge parts of this complex that were jam-packed right to the ceiling just not too many years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's an
I
echo
remember.
in there because
Yeah.
Yeah, it
people
used to be
just
quite high behind us.
people just got their inventories and moved them out of here to Canada and other
Yeah.
warehouse locations. This recession was tough on everybody, and it's always interesting to ask people like you just how hard was it? Was there ever a question whether you were going to survive?
Not lately. I mean, we had some slow periods towards the fall last year, but
It's been a couple
we're
years.
pretty
and-
fortunate right now. You know, the salespeople that come in are saying everybody's slow, but I mean, we actually have a
We're busy.
backlog right now of
Do you
about
really?
1 to 2 months. So.
That's not a bad
good. No.
position to
That's
be
good.
in.
But when you don't have a big crew, so we can,
Yeah.
if the deadlines allow us, we'll stretch things out. But I can see where it would be a lot tougher if we had 10 people out in the shop trying to keep them all busy. But 2 or 3 people in the shop can get a lot of work done.
Do you do most things by a contract? Do you make a contract with people? How does that work?
Absolutely.
Well, we put a quote out and you get a purchase order back, and that's what your agreement is. You'll do the work
That's
for
a big
that.
part of the business, making sure the bid is
Always
right,
get
huh?
the purchase
You
order.
got to have it in writing. Yeah.
Have you done work for municipalities, villages, towns, cities,
City
fire
of Plaza.
departments?
We do a little
Fire
bit.
department.
Yes, Champlain Fire
How
Department.
can you not with John
Yeah.
on board here?
Alberg, we've done
Yeah,
some
Have you
work
really?
A little bit. And municipalities, we do some for Plattsburgh. We're doing work indirectly for municipalities. We've hooked up with some companies that are in the wastewater treatment
Oh, yeah.
industry, and that seems to be a pretty hot thing right now with all that stimulus money, and towns and cities are upgrading their water systems. And a lot of that's stainless steel now, and that seems to be what we specialize in, is stainless steel.
Is that
So-
your main product? I was going to ask
Yeah.
you what
90% of our
working
work
with
is
a,
stainless steel.
Clean.
Yeah.
because
Clean, and
For
it's
the-
what's required for the process industry, and it's
Oh, that's right too, of
For
course.
pharmaceutical
Yeah.
or
Oh,
food
sure.
grade,
Never
yeah.
thought of that.
so it's pretty much, as you can see, that platform over there is nothing but stainless steel. And
Yeah, is that for somebody around here?
that's for Acromax.
No kidding.
Yep. So we're starting to do projects for Acromax now. And
Whatever it takes.
Yeah.
The future is so unknown. As we're standing here today, and I don't want to spout off any political philosophies or anything, but the future is unknown based on what we've been through in the last few years. It makes me delighted that I'm at least semi-retired
Yeah.
and don't have to rely on what's coming in the door.
it's the young ones you have to worry
Yeah,
about.
it's really, really
know,
tough.
Yeah, it's hard finding
Especially with
jobs.
people with young kids and,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's a scary thought, but
But
like I
it
said,
takes hard work. It
yeah.
takes hard work. I
Yes.
mean, you guys have to get a good night's sleep sometime.
Yes.
We do.
Get up early at 6 o'clock and grab the paper and the coffee and get
Go.
the day started.
Yep.
I didn't mean, see, you didn't know you were going to stand here for 15
No, I didn't.
minutes, did you? But you're charming, you're a good couple, and you are, I think, a good influence on anybody who watches this, who thinks about what it must be like to start a business. What a move that is.
It was a move.
Talk about some sleepless nights
Yeah.
and some,
It was all right at first before I got into it full time. That's when it really gets scary, because I worked construction before. I
Yeah.
worked for Northeastern Piping for 10 years, and that was a good company to work for.
And then when you want to
When
work
you-
for yourself, you got to drop a business plan. You got to get
Oh,
the
sure you do.
loans. You
It's
got
Things
to
you don't know about.
people think
yeah.
it's easy.
sign your life away when
Well,
you
I
first
said
start
way
out.
back in the beginning, the buck stops here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So nobody else's responsibility but yours.
We put everything on the line, all the house, everything for the first contract, and it was nice when we went to the bank and they said, "Oh, your note's going to be due in 2 weeks." I said, "Well, we paid it off 2 weeks ago," so
Is it that?
it was,
That was
it
the
was
first,
a good
first
feeling.
job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So there is satisfaction at
Oh,
the end of the day,
absolutely.
isn't there? Huh?
There absolutely.
Especially when you work hard and when you have that innate talent.
Yeah.
It's not, I suppose part of it's born into you, but a lot of it's just built up by dint of hard
Work
Yeah.
ethic.
work, getting that work ethic, which is important, I think, to mention on our
think
little
growing-
hometown
yeah.
cable camera, because it's kind of a rare commodity in this day and
I
age.
think
Growing up
John-
on the farm,
Yeah,
You know,
farm,
as
there
always,
it
it
is.
was a
that,
great
that
place to
farm
grow up.
example.
Yeah.
Are you local?
Yeah, I'm from Shazy. My parents are Orville and Gretchen Ledoux with used to be Shazy Hardware in
Of
Shazy.
course, of
Yeah,
course,
so-
of course.
we graduated together, so
Isn't-
known her since the 6th
Isn't
grade.
that just so sweet?
And we still talk to each other.
I love it. Heather, thanks so much
Thank
for
you
being
very
with
much.
us. We're going to get the cook's tour, and if it's
Okay.
long, you can chew him out. Not
All right.
me.
Thank you very much.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Let's pause a minute, and we'll be right back for our tour. We're talking with John Tremblay at Modern Mechanical right up here in Champlain. And you've been in business, I forgot now, how many? 11 years?
11 years
11 years
in this business, yes.
in this business. That's what I meant to say.
Yeah.
Who came up with the name of it?
It must have been me. I was the only one when we started. It was by myself.
Really?
Yeah.
Just seemed like a good idea at the
yeah.
time.
Yep. I had just me and one other guy, one other welder that was working for me at the time. So.
So is the official name Modern Mechanical Fabrication?
No, just Fab.
Fab.
F-A-B. Yep.
Well, that's pretty fab.
Yeah.
All right, we started to walk a little bit. We took at least 10 steps
Yeah,
from
at
the
least.
time Heather left us. What do we got here?
Well, this is a piece of process equipment that's going into the local pharmaceutical, and this is going to be used for mixing dry goods, mixing product up, and we basically designed this from the ground up. JP's done a wonderful job of coming up with what there's going to be is a hoop and a drum, and it's going to rotate on the wheels, and it'll have a control box on it. The Lexan is a safety, so nobody gets hurt when it's twirling around.
And you have to, you're obviously going to have to test it out, aren't you,
Yep.
before it's delivered?
Hopefully next week we'll be
Really?
powering it up. Yeah, the power panel's being put together now, and we're going to turn the power onto it next week, I hope.
I think you ought to put JP right in the drum as it turns.
Yeah.
Maybe
It's a
not.
small drum.
Yeah, so that's not going too far from here then, huh?
No, that won't be going too far from here. Actually, with this particular project, we're making probably 90% of the process equipment for it. So we've been pretty fortunate.
This building, these complexes have been around here for a long time,
Yeah.
a part of the actual history of this whole Champlain area. Anybody who's ever driven up Elm Street knows about what this was down through the
What
years.
it was, yeah.
But you're taking advantage of a lot of stuff that was already in here. We talked about these cranes. Now, we got 10-ton cranes behind us.
Yeah, there's cranes everywhere.
Everywhere.
Yeah, they're very handy. There's no reason for a back injury here. I've always said, take your time and use the crane. Don't.
This isn't the biggest thing you have to pick up. You told me you picked up something that weighed how much?
35,000 pounds. Right before Christmas.
No kidding.
Yeah, right before the end of the year. It was a piece of, it was a press brake, and I'll be showing you that in a little bit.
Had you not had this building available to you, I don't know what you would have had to do. Build it.
Hire somebody with the equipment.
Really?
Yeah, I have to hire a crane, and yep.
So much better this.
Oh, this has been great for us. It
Let's
really
walk
has.
and talk and show us whatever you got. What's right behind you?
This is a truck rack. Actually, I came in Saturday and made that.
He makes it sound simple. I came in Saturday.
Yeah,
I didn't even put a jigsaw puzzle together on Saturday.
I started from scratch on Saturday morning with it, and I had the water jet running for another project. And we have so much work right now. This is for a person in Vermont that has a sprinkler business, and he wanted a truck rack and didn't want to have to paint it, so he's having
That's
it made out
another
of stainless
factor I
steel.
never even thought of.
Yeah, he wants to build he bought a brand new truck, so he wants to build the switches from truck to truck, and it should last him a long time. It's just tacked together, and I think Saturday I'll be welding it, finishing it up. So
He tells you what he needs, or do you have to look at the truck? Or
he brought the truck in, and I measured
brought
it.
the
Yeah,
truck?
and he had pictures of his old one on his old truck, and I just did some drawings Friday evening and came in Saturday and started building it.
John, you said you have some competition in the area, but of course nobody's as good as you are.
Well, I'm not going to say that.
I'll say
Don't do that.
But so when there are fabrication jobs out there, you find out about them. You have ways,
Yeah.
and so you get to bid on them.
Yep. Yeah. This was brought to me through word of mouth of engineer friend that we worked with before.
That's
It was
good.
a friend of his.
That's
and-
good.
Yep. A lot of word of mouth, and a lot of our other projects are just lately have been through people that we've done other work for. So
Yeah, that's good. Word
Yeah,
of mouth.
yeah,
Word of
yeah,
mouth
it
is
seems
very
to
good
work.
advertising.
reputation. and-
So just tell me anything you want to talk to as we walk down this way,
Yeah.
John.
Well, this is my little fabrication area.
This
half.
is it for you,
Yeah,
huh?
this is my welding
Your
area. and-
hacienda.
Yep, this is, these are some, for another project at the pharmaceutical, this is some small stainless tubing. I was gonna weld it together for you while you're here if you'd
I
like.
wish you would. I'd love to see. Just explain it as you go.
Yeah, just turn on a few switches.
Okay, I'll stand behind you.
This is, it's called automatic orbital tube welding.
Yep.
And this little machine here actually does the weld.
Yep.
And,
This is all new ground for me, so
Yeah.
just explain everything.
well, there's a little piece of tungsten. Normally when you TIG weld, there's an electrode which is made out of tungsten. And
Right?
It's similar to brazing. And this machine actually holds the tungsten, and there's gas flowing through this tube right now to keep it to keep it very clean inside. So I'm just going to make sure I'm all leveled up, and this is actually going to be used to spray gum in a machine. They're going to sugar coat gum with this.
Come on.
I'm
Oh, you
telling
mean
you.
real gum?
Yep,
Yeah, I got you.
that's all I'm allowed to say.
That's okay.
So everything's set up and ready. There's gas flowing through this, and the machine, the computer's been programmed for this size tubing, and there's several programs I can do from 1/4 inch or 1/8 inch tubing up to 3 inch. I have 2 of the machines. And it's just a matter of, right now it's going through a tacking process, so it's going to put 3 tacks on the tube.
They said that all had to be done manually in the old days.
I used to do it manually all the time.
Oh
you know.
my goodness, all
I could've-
computerized.
Yep, now and this is required by the FDA. And,
Oh, really?
in the pharmaceutical industry, all this has to be done
Oh, of
automatically
course,
now.
yeah,
The food
ah.
and dairy isn't as strict. I mean, there's still mostly hand welding going on. But, I mean, you can do a pretty nice job hand welding too. I mean, but this is,
Oh, I know you
I
can.
know, I don't know if you can see the sample, but you can, this was a weld I did.
That's a weld?
Yeah, that was 2 pieces. This is a weld here.
You gotta
you
be
can-
kidding me.
But it shows you how clean the inside of the tube actually is after it's
Even
done.
with my old eyes, that is amazing.
Yeah, it's very clean. So
And you could do that by hand,
Yes.
manually?
it wouldn't look quite as that consistent, but it would be sufficient.
Well, you got my attention
Well-
with that one, John. That's beautiful.
Yeah. But that was done with this little machine. So the machine's gone around and it's tailed off, and now we're going to have 1 piece of pipe instead of 2. So now that's
And it's not hot?
oh, it's hot right in the
Yeah.
area, but you can see the
Look at this. Look how
pretty
absolutely
consistent.
smooth.
Yep.
You don't have to grind that at all? or
Well,
do you?
yeah, I'll buff it down so it's just clean inside the machine, so it's easy to wash. You know,
Oh, I see what you
the
mean.
little ridges that can collect dust, and so it's
And you keep these ports covered?
yeah.
for obvious
This will get all
reasons.
cleaned out. No, that's to keep the gas in, so the gas
Oh,
is
I see
flowing
what you
through.
mean. I see,
Yeah.
sure.
And
That's-
that's called orbital tube welding.
Orbital tube welding.
Yeah.
Okay. Man,
That was your demonstration for the
I'll get my college degree out of this. That's wonderful, John.
Yep. And we're gonna just swing right around, and this is actually all part of that process. You can see this is a
Look at the.
This is
oh.
an existing machine that this is going in, and we've had to build this door, which will hold that spray rack after. And you know, this door we built all the pieces right here in our shop. And everything. Well, this was salvaged from the original design, but all the hinges, everything we've built here.
This is plexiglass.
This is 1/2 inch Lexi.
Half inch. Yeah, that's
That
pretty,
was cut on
pretty
the water
sturdy
jet.
stuff, huh?
Yep. So.
We'll have to see the water jet because I'm not exactly sure how that might work, but I can guess.
Yep.
That's
And
wonderful.
That's pretty much it in this corner. Other than some tools, we have a tubing bender here that's, that'll bend pipe and tube, and a bandsaw. And this is where our raw materials, some of them are stored.
So what would you say? 90% stainless steel now,
Yep.
or more?
Yep. At least. Yeah, we tend to stay with the stainless when the job is there, but we'll do it. We'll do anything. We'll do aluminum and carbon steel, but
What's the hardest to weld?
cast iron repairs. Aluminum is probably the hardest, just because we don't do it a lot. But
Oh, I see.
but
But repairing cast iron is very difficult.
yes, it's an art. It's
You got it. You got it, John.
Definitely an art, but I think we find stainless to be easy just because we do it all the time.
All the
but
time. Yep.
it's all easy if you do it all the time. And my guys can weld just about anything. And like I said, we're starting a certification program, so that a qualification program. So we're getting qualified in different processes and procedures as we go through. It's another selling point.
Well, you've come a long ways in the last 11
Absolutely.
years. So we're going to take a little walk?
Yeah, we'll go on to the other side.
All right. We're talking with John Trombley at Modern Mechanical Fab in Champlain. I'm getting a real education. I hope our viewers are getting a kick out of it. Young people I know do. And anytime I walk in front of something and it says Flying Bridge,
Yeah.
I think of Star Trek. What is this? What's going on here?
Well, this is an abrasive water jet cutting machine, and I think Calvin's done a little bit on it before at our open house. And This is what I was cutting on Saturday when I was working. Once it's programmed in, you walk away from it and hope nothing goes wrong. But it cut for, I think, 10 hours on Saturday and 3 more hours on Sunday on
Come
this.
on.
Yeah, these were some letters for actually for James Jeffords Hall in Vermont. They're going to use it for a sign. I did this for
It's
Jeffords.
heavier than I thought it would
Yeah.
be when you handed it to me.
That's some 1-inch thick aluminum. So we cut out all these letters. You can see I turned them and nested them to not waste any more material than we had to.
That's another very important point, I think.
Yeah.
You set the machine up and program it
Yep.
and walk away.
Set it and forget it.
Is it?
You hope.
Yeah, you hope, yeah.
You know, there's always something that can go wrong. The sand, this is, of course, uses sand with high pressure water.
That's how it works.
And you know, sometimes the sand will stop flowing or you'll run out of sand in the hopper and it stops cutting. But you can go by sound, so I could be on the other side of the shop.
You can tell?
As soon as it goes wrong, I'm over here. But, you know, you got 60,000 pounds of pressure pushing water and sand through that little nozzle.
Isn't that
Which is,
amazing?
yeah, that's made of carbide, so very breakable. If you were to drop it on the floor, you would cost me $200.
Oh,
So please don't drop it.
I'll hold it really tight. Now what materials will it cut besides aluminum?
Anything.
Really?
Paper. They use them in. They cut cakes with them. They cut
Come on.
food with them. Not this dirty, obviously, but
I hope
this
not.
company they're in every industry. You can cut cardboard, paper, rubber, plastic. You know, glass. I've cut granite for my house with it. I've cut ceramic tile for people. You know, I've done compass stars and.
No kidding.
Yeah, it's.
Oh, wow.
A lot of different stuff you can do with it. I mean, there's no heat put to it, so there's no affected.
It's just high pressure with the sand.
Yeah, and some materials you don't use sand. I mean, for rubber and plastics, you can just use straight water, and it's like I said, it's nice. You can thick stuff like this is good. You can set it and walk away. Thinner stuff, sometimes it'll pop up, it'll crash, it'll break a tip, or there's.
So this process has been around for how long? Long time?
I'm not sure. I'd be wrong. You know, it's at least 30 years, I would say.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
So you've always known about this from the very beginning?
No,
Oh, no?
No. I learned about it, you know, probably 10 or 12 years ago. I started hearing about it and just jokingly said, I want to get one of those, and started looking online, and I ended up finding a used one. And
Well, that's what it takes. As you mentioned earlier, a piece of equipment like this, brand new, would almost break the bank, wouldn't it?
a new one like this would be about $250,000, $260,000.
You got my attention.
Yeah. And
Oh boy.
I probably got $90,000 in this
Yeah,
one.
that's wonderful.
So it's a big savings. Everything I've bought used, it's the best. To me, it's the best way to go. You know, you don't have the warranty. You're taking a gamble. You know, there was a few things that I had to replace, but if you go into it knowing there's going to be another $10,000 or $20,000 possible investment, it works.
How do you load the sand?
The sand, well, we used to come in 50-pound bags, and we'd load it by hand. But now we during one of our slow times, when we're slow in here, we find
that's
things to
the
build.
hopper.
So we actually we can come look. We built this hopper. Like I said, we were slow for a few
You
weeks.
built this hopper too?
Yeah.
Of course you did.
So this is like a sandblasting tank, and you know, it's pressurized tank, but you let the air off, and you can just.
Oh, I see. Look at
So
that.
now we buy it in bulk.
Glorified hourglass there.
Yeah, it comes
It's pretty
in a-
fine sand, huh?
Yep, it comes from Australia. This is an 80 grit garnet.
Boy, it is soft.
Yeah, you can get
It is soft.
120 grit or
Oh,
60. You can get different
you
grits.
use different grits or
No,
mostly this?
I just stay with 80. It works for me. So why confuse it?
That's exactly right.
You know, there's only one type of sand to buy, and like I said, we get it in big bags, bulk bags, and every now and then we got to fill the tank up.
And this, how does it get out of here into the machine?
This gets pressurized, you know, with plant air, facility air. We got about 100 pounds of air pressure inside this tank, and it pushes it through a hose on the floor, and it goes up into the bridge, and it's just done by hose. And there's a metering valve over there, so as you know, as the water jet turns on, it opens a little valve, and the sand drops into it. And actually, the flow of water out of that nozzle draws the sand in and mixes it in that tube I had.
And the computer senses when it's out of sand, does it? Or
Yes, it does sense when it's low, but if you're not in front of the computer,
So,
it's just a different sound, and
yeah, you know.
the sound of it not cutting is is what tells you. But
you know, I'm blown away by all the stuff that it takes. Not only does it take this tremendous knowledge that you've acquired through the years, but it takes the right machinery. Otherwise, you're going to be hurting.
Pretty much everything we've got, we're self-taught. We don't, we haven't had too many people come up and train us.
Well, if you had to, for example, if you had to buy this hopper, it was a lot easier for you to make it.
And plus it kept, you don't have to lay the people off. I mean, mostly you're going to see a lot of stuff around it that we've built for ourselves. And
makes perfect sense.
if you don't have any work lined up for a couple of weeks, well, we build something for ourselves. We maintain, we maintain equipment. Everything needs to be cleaned and greased, and it's just you got to find things. I'm not a big fan of laying people off.
Yeah, what's this?
This is a little cart that goes along with that other process over there.
Yeah.
There'll be a pump and a flow meter mounted on this, and this will actually be pumping the fluid through those spray nozzles on that little header.
Will it have wheels?
Yep, we'll have little wheels. It'll be all polished up, shiny, and we just started that 2 days ago.
And even though it's stainless steel, it's really strong.
It's strong enough for what it's doing. Yes, this is only, I think this is like 14 gauge or 1/8 inch thick or less.
Yeah.
So, but being all welded together like that, and this is an 1/8 inch thick cover on it, it's very strong.
Looks to me like it would last more than my lifetime.
Yeah, this is another example of, guys are slow. I said, hey, why don't you make something to hold all of our clamps on? We have old casters, and
what a wonderful idea. Otherwise, you got them hanging up here and under here and over there.
I did no design on. The guy he came up with it himself, and very, very handy. Very handy.
You got to have the right mindset to be able to do this stuff. Because you've always been mechanically inclined. When you're brought up on a farm, you have to make do, right, John?
Yes. Now this is the big piece of equipment that we just acquired this at the end of the year.
Oh, so it's only a couple months old.
Yes, we're just learning how to run it. It's actually Heather and I went down to Knoxville, Tennessee for a little trip to look at it.
Did you really? Did you go over to Pigeon Forge while you were down there?
No, we stayed in Nashville at Gaylord Opryland.
Oh yeah,
what a beautiful place.
Isn't that great? Yeah,
unbelievable. And we drove over to Knoxville to see the equipment on a Friday, I think it was. But this is an example of taking a chance with a used piece of equipment. They ran it for me there. It showed me. I bought it through a broker, but I get it here, and I bought all new tooling because nobody sells tooling with it. So I bought all the new tooling. There's of course, we built another cart to hold the tooling.
Of course, you did.
But once I put all this tooling on, nothing was lining up. And I found out that all these tool holders were bent. So that's a chance you take. And
they were bent just from use?
Yeah. Well, this thing has 250 tons of power, so that's a lot of power.
Okay.
But looking at it, you don't know they're bent until you try to line a bunch of tools up, and they were. I mean, they weren't trying to fool me or anything, but they were just using it for small stuff. So, of course, I got that far. So then, I've got to buy new tooling holders. But, it was a gamble I took, and it's pretty much the only problem we had with it. It runs great. And
what does it do?
Well, this is capable of bending heavy material. This is a piece of 3/8 stainless steel that we water jetted out. We brought it over here, and we bent a 90-degree angle on it.
And that's what does it. No wonder you need the pressure, huh?
Yeah, this one will do 8 feet of 1/2-inch thick steel. So as you get narrower, like a foot, it'll probably bend 3/4 or 1-inch thick steel.
Wow.
So, and it's capable of doing like 14 feet by, I think, 1/4 inch.
How the heck did you do it before?
We didn't. We'd have to send it out. We subcontracted. Jeffords would build it or bend it for us, or we had a company in New Hampshire we were working with. But then you're adding shipping charges, and we started losing some projects with some new customers because of the cost. And
that's amazing to me.
Yeah.
So this thing will take a while, but eventually, if you live long enough, it'll pay for itself, huh?
Oh yeah. Yeah, it all comes around.
When you got to farm out stuff and pay somebody premium dollars to do.
On the other hand, you need to invest your money back into the business, or where it goes. So
So how does it work under hydraulic pressure? Or how does it work?
Yep. There's 2 hydraulic cylinders. There's a computer that tells it where it is at all times. Start it up and make it move at least. Well,
Yeah, let's do that.
that's always exciting.
That's exciting for me.
Yeah.
We're all kids at heart. We love to see big equipment.
I mean, this is an older one. It's a '97. The new one of this size, I was told, would cost around $300,000. So
He tosses those numbers
way
around.
out of my reach.
Yeah.
So, but this is an older computer. I mean, it's '97, so obviously the new one is all updated with
Yep.
Windows type programs. So this one is I'm just gonna tell it it's gonna find its home. So right now it's calibrating itself. So it's telling me to hit the closing foot. You'll watch the back gauges. Those are the
Oh, I
fingers.
see them, yes.
See there?
Yep.
This is a 7-axis machine, so you can set those to go wherever you want to push your.
So you can do a pretty good piece of material in there, pretty good size.
Yeah, with multiple bends and.
Yes, sure.
I mean, okay. See, it's all figured out where it's going to go. I mean, if you want to see, come at the end of this just to get an idea of what we're looking at for mass. I mean, this is all solid steel right here.
Oh, it is. It has to be.
This is solid steel. There's 3 layers of steel, so that's pretty much solid 8 inches of steel. This is probably 2.5 inches, this whole piece. So.
Yeah, you don't want that stuff to bend.
No.
So
Very
you've
happy.
actually used this on a job already?
We've started using it. Actually, they're installing panels that we just bent yesterday afternoon.
Oh, no kidding. So you're happy with it? You're happy that you made this move?
Absolutely.
You don't just go down to Knoxville and buy something like this
There's research
on a whim. You have to know what you're doing.
Well, throughout the year, we try and figure out what our next move is going to be. What do we need to stay competitive and, keep what direction are we going in with our business. I basically last year I made the move from doing field installations with piping and everything to just doing general fabrication or specialty fabrication. So, now we're going to gear up for that type of thing. The year before I bought the shear, and it's every year I try to buy one piece, and it looks like it. I'm starting to have a lot of tools.
Well, this is the kind of thing that makes you truly competitive in your field, doesn't it?
It just expands your. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard when you have to buy parts for a job. Sometimes there's probably jobs that we're bidding on with the people we're buying parts from.
No, come on.
Yeah,
I gotta imagine that would happen, sure.
Yep. So it just opens up opportunities for us.
So what is this thing called?
A press brake. It's a hydraulic press brake.
Press brake.
Yeah, you can buy all kinds of different toolings. I basically stocked up on a variety. When you're bending that thick stuff, you have to have a large opening. That's got to be 8 times your thickness.
Oh, it does?
Yeah.
Aha.
So that's how it's determined. Like there's the dies that are in it right now are they're 4-way dies, so you can flip them over. You can
I see what you mean, sure.
Yesterday when we were bending sheet metal, we were using the smallest one, and there's all different kinds of toolings.
So that's all part of it.
That's all part of it.
Did this come with that?
No, nobody sells their used equipment with their tooling.
Oh,
So
no kidding.
that was another large investment, but it's you got to have it. Can't have the tool, the machine without the tools.
Boy, I'm very impressed by that one. Okay, John, what's next?
This was quite a machine to unload, and like I told you, it weighed
How
30.
did it get here?
It came up in truck, and that was another sad story. In the snowstorm, and the trucking company decided not to cover it, so it showed up with salt and debris all over it.
No kidding, it wasn't properly covered?
Nah, it was pretty discouraging, but we cleaned it up as quick as we could, and
no insurance on the transportation part of it?
I sent them a bill for cleaning. So,
Did you?
Yeah, they paid me right off.
Oh, go.
Pictures are amazing because when it showed up in the truck uncovered, I was out there snapping pictures covered with salt, and they didn't have a.
My heart goes out to you. My stomach is turning for you right now.
It was discouraging.
Never dreamed that would happen, did you?
Well,
Wouldn't you think
they
they'd
would
shrink wrap it or do something?
Absolutely. Usually they have big tarps. They had a tarp over the top, but you have a lot of little electronic servo motors that move it.
And it's all critical stuff. It
yeah.
has to be tolerance, right?
Yeah,
It has
oh
to be
yeah,
perfect.
absolutely.
Oh
So,
my gosh.
that was the first part of the
So
discouragement.
that was Merry Christmas to you?
Yeah, or Happy New Year.
Oh,
yeah.
Happy New Year?
Yeah,
Oh,
Christmas
dear
had
God.
gone by. But we unloaded it with our cranes. And there's
Oh, you did?
Yeah, there's 2 cranes you ride in up here. There's 2 10-ton cranes. There's one further down. So
I see it, yeah.
we each got in one, and we rigged it and lifted it off the truck, and it went pretty much as planned. It's a little, the first rigging it was tipping forward, which was a little scary.
Can't be doing that.
After we put it on the floor, when we lifted it back up, we rigged it differently, and we were able to just bring it right in and drop it in place. And
People have no idea what the
No.
logistics are for something that heavy.
yes,
Calvin and I have had the pleasure of watching a lot of big equipment in operation in our little video tours. And we watched Noble
yeah,
putting up those towers for the windmills,
yeah. That was,
Excuse me.
I saw that show. It was.
and to see how they get up on
Yeah.
the top. If you think I'd be standing up there, maybe when they're moving that thing in, I said, no, thank you. We're down here.
This is nothing compared to what those weighed.
Yeah,
I mean,
where you have to, where the crane operator on the ground has to have a weather forecast
Yes.
for the top of the top of the tower. Are you kidding me?
It's amazing how heavy those
And the
things are.
tolerances,
Yeah.
get that in there and then bolt it up to get it started.
They brought a section of their trailer here for us to reinforce.
Did they really?
Yes, the company that was doing the rigging, and I just couldn't imagine that thing being heavy enough to bend the steel like it did. It just bent it a little bit, but it was just amazing how heavy that had to be.
We got most of the process on video.
Yep, and I saw the
And
shows.
we could probably got more and better video than anybody who was doing that
Yeah.
at the time. And for that reason alone, we're in favor of wind power, not to mention all the
Absolutely.
pluses for the North Country.
Yeah.
We're talking with John Tremblay in Champlain at Modern Mechanical Fab. And you just want to call it Fab, huh?
Fab, yeah. There's enough letters in that word without fabrication.
That would have been awful long on a card.
Yeah. So this is,
Well, I like what we're seeing up here because it gives people an idea, You know a lot of people, and I'm sure a lot of your friends have never been inside this building
yeah, there
before,
are. Yeah.
so they have no clue. Thank goodness for people like Calvin and Hometown Cable who are willing to show the whole story. What do we got here?
This is basically a sheet metal brake. It's a computerized folding machine. So you can, the back gauge determines where your bend is going to be, and that you program that in, and you slide your sheet in here, and this comes down, and that swings up, and it's basically
Same principle as the other one, only on a smaller scale?
Two
No?
different machines, two different uses.
Really?
Yeah, this thing will do things that thing can't do, and
Vice versa.
versa. Yep. And this, it's the same. We have a lot of different tooling. Well, not a lot of different. We have basically one set of tooling, but it comes in sections, so you can make little boxes.
Ah.
So it's a box and pan brake, basically. If you remember your shop days.
Yeah, sure.
Only it's done all hydraulically, so no levers to pull on. Just
No, and
buttons
this
to
is
push.
also computer?
Yeah, it's also
computerized?
computer, and it's also older. I think it's a 2001, so it has an older style computer. And this is another used piece that I got a really good deal on. I mean, it was listed at $50,000, and I went down and they couldn't make it work, so they sold it to me for $25,000.
No kidding.
Yep.
You said, okay, well, let's plug it in. Maybe it'll work.
It cost me another $8,000 or $9,000
did
to
to
replace the
yeah.
computer, which was still good because it was a couple $100,000 when it was new. So.
Oh boy, oh boy, oh
So
boy.
I just see, I don't see the purpose of buying new equipment anymore.
If you don't need it,
No,
especially for now. What's this for?
Oh, this is another thing that when we were slow. This is the foot pedal that controls it, but one of the guys went through and made these nice little handles so we don't have to kick them around anymore.
Isn't that amazing? But who would ever see? You have to have a
Slow
mind
times,
for it.
yeah.
I would
We do have a lot
never
of slow
come up.
times, so you'll see a lot of things that we make.
I know which end of the pencil you write with and which end you erase with, and that's about the extent of my mechanical engineering ability.
Now this was a good piece to have too, because before we just bought this last, the year before last, and this is a shear, so this will cut 1/4 inch thick plate by 10 feet long, which anything thicker we do on the water jet. But before we bought this, we had to cut everything on the water jet, which is slow and expensive, and it really hurt for simple stuff. We couldn't compete with a lot of things, and Now it's nice. You can throw a piece on there and chop it off, and you know what used to take an hour to cut over there, we can do in like 3 or 4 minutes here. So it's,
No kidding. So this is as big a shear as you need?
It's never as big as you need. No, the worst thing is, like, my water jet table is 4 feet by 8 feet. There's a lot of cases like these sheets here were 5 feet by 10 feet that we had to work on. You know, we can shear them, but we can't drop them on the table and do all the cutting. So we have to cut a section, move it. You know, nothing's ever as big as it should be. But, you know, we don't do that all the time.
Now, something like this, is this any welding done by hand on this, or is it all?
Every bit of it.
This is all by hand?
Yep, this is all, every piece that's been welded in there has been welded by hand.
Wow, look at this.
So this is basically another piece of process
This
equipment.
gives me a whole new appreciation when I see things made out of stainless steel. You know, when you learn how the process works and learn what kind of equipment it takes to bend this stuff and what kind of expertise it takes to weld it, it does give you a whole new appreciation. And now I'll be able to tell other people, providing I remember some of the stuff you told me, John. Yeah.
See, the thing with this is we're gonna have to cut it back apart so we can put it in the building. You know, it's gonna go in 3 pieces. So it's.
Oh God! Come on.
This is it's a pretty big unit. It has to go
It
through
is
doorways and
pretty big.
everything.
Yeah, that's true too.
You know, so this is some of the bending that we did. We bent this sheet and the new press brake. So there's a 90 here, and there's a little offset where the 2 sheets come together.
That's a great idea too.
Yeah.
This all has to be figured out ahead of time.
Oh yeah, that's what JP does.
That's what he does, huh?
Yep, and this whole unit is going to be containing dust in a process. So
Sure.
there's a dust collection area, and we'll have the glass company's going to be coming
Yeah.
to put glass doors on it.
No
So there's going
kidding.
to be glass doors in here.
Oh, no kidding.
Yep.
A glass or plexiglass?
Real glass.
Real glass.
Yeah, Adams Glass will be installing
No kidding.
the doors. There's 7-foot doors going in here. So,
Oh, my boy's down at Adams Glass. A little project for him,
a
huh?
plug.
Yeah, well, sure. They're good friends.
So that's this project, and we have a couple of gates that we have to put on, some self-closing gates.
Aha.
And now, see, he just got that piece of metal. It only took 2
That was it,
seconds.
huh?
Yeah, that was it. Now,
I didn't hear anybody scream,
isn't
so I guess he
hydraulic,
didn't put his hand. Oh, it's not?
No, this is a mechanical shear.
Oh,
so
no kidding.
You heard that thing that sounded like an airplane taking
Right,
off.
right.
That was a big flywheel starting to spin, so it works off momentum.
Ah.
So when you push that lever, a clutch engages and it grabs that shaft that's spinning and it shoots the blade down.
That's truly amazing.
Yeah.
I think that's fantastic. So that's called a shear.
That's a mechanical shear. Yep.
That's
See,
the only mechanical shear you have?
He's programming in the back gauge, and
Oh, I see.
so he'll put that into where he wants to cut. And yeah, that's basically the only sheet shear I have. I have other things that will cut smaller pieces, but nothing like this. This is a good. Most of the tools we buy, they're something we use all the time, but occasionally I'll buy a piece that gets used twice a year or something. But
Yeah.
it's just, gotta have it. Nobody else has one, let's get one.
Oh, dear God. This is absolutely amazing.
This is, I bought this and that rolling machine by the refrigerator over
Oh,
there.
yeah.
That rolls, that'll
I see
roll
it.
sections, pipe, or
is
angle
that what it
iron.
does?
Yeah. And that's a piece that we hardly ever use, but I did buy those brand new. But we had that other old bandsaw we used for years. It's amazing how much cutting we've done with it, but this is kind of a semi-automatic bandsaw that runs hydraulically, and it'll cut up to 24 inches, so it's a pretty
Oh, wow.
good sized bandsaw.
So that's mechanical?
It's a hydraulic, yep.
Oh, it's
Yep.
hydraulic, yeah.
Yeah, it's a hydraulic up and down, and the hydraulic vise on it. It does everything but measure the piece for you. Some of the nicer bandsaws will measure the piece.
Oh,
but
really?
Well, machine shops and stuff that are making 1,000 pieces.
I
and,
suppose, yeah.
It's you can set it up and walk away, and it just keeps cutting your pieces for you. But we don't make 1,000 of anything. We're mostly one of this and one of that.
John, have people come to you saying, I want something that sounds or looks like this, and you say, oh my gosh, I'm not sure that we're capable of doing that. Do you have to burn a little midnight oil sometimes?
I've never said that, but usually we'll work through something.
No kidding.
Yeah, we make stuff for people all the time like that. Yeah. They explain what they're looking for, and that's a big part of our business. Is, like a lot of these process people, we've designed a lot of equipment for organizing and just making their workplace a safer place. And they'll tell us, Ben & Jerry's has bought some. The yogurt factory bought a bunch of stuff that I've designed these hangers for hanging up the little clamps and gaskets, and because normally to get thrown on the floor, that's not a good thing. And it's a big part of our business is solving problems.
And I'll bet it pleases you no end when you're able to come up with an idea for somebody that nobody else has been able to do.
It is fun.
And I bet you've done that before, too.
A couple of times, yes.
Yeah, they come to you
and it
pulling
also
their hair out saying,
gives us
John,
something
we don't
else
know
to-
how to do this, and you say, just give me a little time. And
Yeah, JP's good at that. We both are involved in that aspect of it, and it's nice because sometimes it'll give us a new product to sell or to.
Isn't it nice to have a nucleus, a small nucleus of people that have been with you for a while? You trust their expertise and their knowledge. You know they're going to be at work most days.
Oh, he's here all the day, every day. Yeah, just except for when the fire whistle goes, I'll let him go do his thing.
I heard something on the news the other day, and this is a complete aside, but knowing how dedicated John is to the fire service, somebody who was a volunteer fireman works in a business, and most of the businesses around here, when the fire siren goes off, they say go.
Yeah.
And the business, because times were tough during the recession, said, no, we can't let you go to fires anymore. That's tough. It's hard enough to get firemen,
Yeah. I can usually see when the whistle goes off and it's something he wants to go to. I can usually tell.
See him twitching?
Go, what are you waiting for? Time's a wasted,
John's a good friend. That's why we have to mention his name. He and Cindy and their beautiful little girl. All right, what do we got next?
Well, this is an eBay purchase.
Really?
Yeah, this one, my first press brake. Tell there's a slight difference in size.
Yeah.
This is,
Same concept.
yeah, I don't think I'll sell it. Just we don't use it as much, but for like the steps on that, it's a diamond plate. It's got that rough finish, and it will damage your tools. So
Oh, it will.
this would be a good one to damage rather than the new one.
Yes, I see
so
what
it's
you
a
mean,
good thing to keep for small parts and.
Still perfectly operable though. It still works.
It's got a few issues, little oil leaks here and there,
A
but
little bit of this, a little bit of that. Yeah.
it doesn't owe me anything. So.
No, well, you've done a lot of work with it. Sure.
This is a nice piece of equipment. This is the first new piece I bought way back, and this is an iron worker. It does a lot of things. It punches in this station. These are actually holes rather than drilling a hole through steel. You just
Punch it out.
punch it out.
Dear
You
gosh.
can
Look at this.
punch 20 holes a minute compared to drilling two a minute or one a minute.
My.
It's and it has a small shear built into it also. There's a little shear, a knife shear in there, so you can do a flat bar.
Yeah, sure.
You can shear angle. So I've got a little brake. Obviously, I don't use that anymore. But
Yeah.
this is getting to the older part of the shop.
Oh, that's all right.
This used to be the welding shop back in the Harris or the Sheridan days, I believe.
Was it?
That's what I've been told. The electrical shop or the welding shop is right here.
It changed a lot after I left in '75, so I'm not up to date. This was the shipping area when I first started here, and that behind us was all the assembly floor, and that remained the assembly floor. But I'm not sure what was here at the end.
Yeah.
This was my first CNC machine I bought. I saw it in Popular Mechanics, and
Did you really?
this is a small 4x4 plasma cutting table. So you hook a regular plasma cutter to it. It has a little torch, and it'll cut any shape you want. So
No kidding.
no, actually, you've probably seen some welcome
Look at
signs.
this.
This is actually this is for a table. I made some tables, put a glass on.
Did you really?
Another slow time thing, and we.
Oh, I love it. That's a beautiful slow time
Yep.
thing. Look at that.
Have Adams Glass cut us a 1/4-inch glass top and put some legs on it, and it makes a nice little end table.
Isn't that wonderful?
Got a couple in the back, but
Yeah. Wow.
gave some out for Christmas presents.
So
The
then-
signs we I've never really sold any signs, but like when places come looking for donations for raffles or Heart Association and I'm trying to think of some of the other ones that have happened around here.
sure.
We usually give them St. Mary's every year. We donate a couple signs and anything like that. So we've cut a lot of signs, but I don't think I've sold 2 of them. Or,
No kidding.
Yeah, and they're usually
Well, it
given
seemed
away.
to me like there would be a market for things like that, but
Not really.
Not
Not a
compared to
profitable
the-
market.
yeah,
no,
I see
no,
what you mean.
because they can get them from China for a lot cheaper than I can make them. So it's
I
just better to
suppose
donate
that's
them.
true.
Yeah.
So this plasma, is it a plasma cutter you
Yeah,
said?
yeah. This is a shape cutter. You do artwork on the computer, and then it'll follow the artwork. You know,
Yep.
It's just a small table, and I actually have a draft system to keep the smoke from getting too heavy. In
I
here.
see what you mean, sure.
Yeah, and this is a little machine shop area. I have a person that comes in part-time and does machining for me. A lot of times we'll do little stuff on it. We aren't a machine shop, and we work with other machinists and machine shops around here when we have larger orders, but it's always nice to be able to drill or tap holes or make bushings or something that we can, something simple. But
I've always admired people who have a mind
Yeah.
like that and like yours.
The,
It's
the
just,
machinist is,
just
I get a little
amazing.
impatient with them sometimes, but it, you know, the guy that I have, he's very meticulous, does a great job, and I'm just not patient enough. That's my problem is I burn up tools. I just always in
do
a
you
hurry.
really?
Well, I'm in a hurry and I don't know what I'm doing. So
well, there's
it
always
comes to that.
deadlines, right? When you sign a contract
Yeah,
with somebody,
yeah.
there's always a deadline. And
what was the other machine? Oh, I wanted to show you another machine.
I'm coming, John.
Sorry, Calvin.
That's all right. As long as he doesn't run into something.
This is a sanding machine. This is actually what polishes our stainless floor. You know, a lot of that box tubing or whatever, it's a large belt sander. You know, they make them for woodworking, and
Look at the size of this thing.
this is actually for steel or stainless steel, so it runs on the conveyor and shoots through there, and you know, a few passes. A lot of the valves the valve gates that we do for Platco, we polish them on here for them
Oh, I
first.
see,
yeah.
sure.
So that's what that is.
Does the belt? How long does the belt last?
Hard saying. Quite a while.
They do last quite a while.
Yeah, they longer than you'd think, but you can see there's a collection
Oh, I
of old
see. Yeah,
ones.
look at this. Wait a
If you need
minute.
any sandpaper, you're welcome to them.
Isn't that amazing? So you just discard them when they're done?
Yeah, I don't know what to do with those. I've got to find somebody that wants some sandpaper and give them away.
Great idea.
But that's about the end. I want to show you one more thing, but you might want to take a break and I'll...
Well, let's take a break and we'll find out what else is going on at Modern Mechanical. Told you I'd follow you anywhere, John. What have you got here?
Well, this is a hose hanger. We actually got our first request on the internet for one of these from a company in New Jersey or someplace.
To make a lot of them, you mean?
No, right now it's just one. But
Oh.
anything's a foot in the door, you know. One is good.
Sure.
One is good because one will lead to others.
That's a
You know,
good
this will-
design.
This will mount on the wall in a facility, and they wrap their wash down hose
Oh,
on it.
sure.
And I just to make this, it came to me at night sleeping. I
Oh,
went home one night.
in
and
a
said,
dream, you
I've
and
got
all
to
the
figure
other.
out how to make this thing in one piece, and without that.
Yeah.
So I went home and I thought about it, I think all night, and I came in the next day and I built this.
Come on.
I'm telling you.
Oh my
So
gosh.
you take I should have a piece, but I don't have a piece. You take a piece of this round bar. That's you cut it 4 feet long, and you center it right on here. This is just a piece of pipe that I welded together, and I put a hydraulic motor on it, and you just bring it around, and it's bending the bar,
Oh.
and you get to a certain point on the little indicator, and you stop, and then you end up with that, and then you just have to weld the plate on.
Now wait a minute. You built this to make one thing?
No. I built this. We've made hundreds of these.
Oh,
but
you have?
I've just,
Oh,
I just
okay.
our website got our first hit on
I
selling
see.
one. No, we've got. This is another thing we do when we're slow.
But is
things
this something you could patent?
No. There's other hose hangers similar to it out there. It's not worth patenting.
It's
A lot
not.
of stuff isn't worth patenting because other people are making it and it's just not worth it.
You
So
never
it's-
thought of getting any patents on anything you've done?
Yeah, there is one that we did a patent pending, but I didn't follow it through because it's
It's a big job. People don't realize
It's very
what a big job it
expensive,
is
yeah.
to get a patent. Very expensive. The patent search is enough to make you humble.
Yeah, we went through with the patent pending, and it was an item, a very unique item that I designed out of a request from the chemical company, and it would be it's a pretty complex thing. It's kind of expensive, and I don't think there's a big market for it out there. So we decided not to follow through with it. You know, we've sold probably 10 of them locally, but and they're really it's a safety thing, but
Has anybody copied it yet?
no, it's nothing. That's what I mean. The market is very
I see.
it's very limited. Yes, it's just for a certain thing, and you know, I would imagine with marketing, but you could probably sell them, but it's a very complicated part, so I decided to back away from it. And, you know, we can still make them, but
someday you're going to come up with something. I just wrote a column about the transition from buttons to zippers, and the guy who patented a workable zipper made some money.
oh, I'm sure.
B.F. Goodrich named
Nobody
it the zipper.
copied it though, right?
Yeah.
I guess the patent's only as good as your lawyers, is what it comes down
That's
to.
true, but I like that.
But I
idea.
think it was just.
And it's very strong too. Way stronger than it looks.
Yeah, as strong as it has to be to hold up a washdown hose. But
Sure.
It was just funny how I went home and thought about it in my sleep and came in the next day and made one. So
That's the only thing this machine can bend.
That's
That's
but I
it.
have this power unit that I have on other
On
benders.
other
I've built
benders.
other benders.
Amazing.
That's the only thing that was made for. Yeah, I was making these, and I've made quite a few of them. Actually, we shipped like 40 of them down to Puerto Rico with
you
some
did?
other stuff. And
I asked him if he ever lost any sleep over his job, and he lied to me because that
I
was
was
one
sleeping
night.
when it happened.
Oh, you were
yeah,
sleeping.
yeah, I can still sleep. Multitasking.
Yeah, that's amazing. Where the first design for the Atom came to somebody in a dream.
A lot of us young guys waste our time dreaming about girls. He dreams about
there's
girls.
time for that too.
That's a pretty sexy thing, you know, when you stop to think for a guy like John, you know.
But this makes you money. The girls cost you money, right?
Oh, that's okay. Touche. That's great. What do you just, can you reuse any of your scrap? That's something people wonder when you show me these buckets of parts and bins of scrap.
When scrap leaves here, it's scrap. This is an example of my scrap.
That's why I mentioned it.
This, we just offloaded. I think I had 5,000 pounds of scrap, or 3,000 pounds. Yeah, it's 5,000 pounds of scrap just went to Canada of stainless. But when it's scrap here, it's scrap because as you can see, if you look at our, like, if you walk carefully, here this is a gate for black gold. This will get all shiny. This was cut on our water jet. This will get polished to a nice satin finish. But, if you look at our racks, you'll see pieces of stuff.
I'm looking.
I'm a pack rat.
Oh, you and me too.
That's why, we basically this extra space.
You
is
never
just
know
for-
what you're going to need.
You can make a ton of things out of
Oh,
that material.
sure.
We make a lot of small pieces. This is thick material, but there's still usable material on it. If you look at any of this, there's, these are 3/4 inch thick stainless. You never know. You just
That's
never know.
expensive to buy a sheet of that.
Yep, and you can follow me down this nice little
Yes,
alley.
I can follow you down here.
You'll see nothing gets. Well, believe it or not, we just cleaned these, and
Did you really?
yeah, and sometimes I have to leave the building to clean them, so I'm not saying I'll keep that.
Oh, okay.
And these are various jigs for putting together some of our stuff.
So this is a collection of stuff over a long period of time.
Yep. Pieces, hey, this piece was sitting here. Wait, we need some 5/16 material, so we come over and we throw it on the water jet and cut our parts out.
I think we've learned from what you've told us here today, John, that you'll take a very small job and a very big job. Have you ever had to turn down a job because it was way too big or way too complicated for what you have to work with here?
That's hard for me to do, but I believe we've probably turned some down. It's some that just.
Or if you get too busy and you say I can't do that for another 6 months, you hate
Yeah,
that you cry all the way home. But
That's my problem. I don't ever
Yeah.
say that. I usually, okay, we'll do it, and then we're late. But it's hard to turn work away these days. You really don't want to.
it's very difficult to find somebody who's busy these days.
Yeah, it's true.
No matter what business it is. I told you,
We're
I just
very
wrote an
fortunate,
article about Susi USA here.
Yeah.
All this empty warehouse space
It's a
breaks
it's a
your
long ways down.
heart to know how industrious and wild this business has been for the last, 100 and 50 years, maybe, Calvin? Way back into the second half of the 19th century.
I think my grandfather Leclerc worked here for 38 years.
No.
As a machinist. Yep. Yep. My
Is it-
grandfather Bill.
Grandfather
he was also
Bill?
a local locksmith. And,
Oh, was he really?
yeah. Apparently Calvin knew who he was.
And a comedian.
And a comedian.
Was he a funny guy too?
Yep.
I'll tell you
He
this.
was. He used to rattle his false teeth for me. It was
Oh, my
when
goodness.
we were just little kids. He'd look at you and his teeth would pop out a little bit and he'd rattle them.
Maybe Bill come back and haunt us after we tell about his false teeth.
Oh,
You know, it just
laugh
proves
about
to
it.
me what an industrious group of people have been the product of a good upraising here in the northern tier of Clinton County. I'm so glad we spend time up here. We've covered a lot of businesses. I told our audience, and most of our audience knows that I write for Strictly Business magazine, and they're dedicating an entire issue to businesses across the northern tier. So I started with Manette's Furniture, then I came over to Susie USA, and I walked in and I said, Howard, how am I ever going to write an article about all the stuff that's going on here? First thing he said, well, there's not as much going on here as there used to be.
Yeah.
But we managed to put it in the package and promote this area. A lot of great people, a lot of great industry up here, and not just farming either. This is a perfect example.
That's another sad thing is the farm.
Isn't it,
where-
though?
yeah,
And we
it is.
talk about that quite often on this show.
I mean, I could have been a farmer as easily as I could have been this.
You
I
and
mean,
how many other people?
Yeah.
It's the old family farm is.
Yeah. It's a thing of the past. A lot of times I miss it, but.
Yeah,
it's,
you do.
Yeah.
I mean, how many times have we mentioned Calvin, of course, a farm boy? I was a preacher's kid, but we had no spendable income, so I spent my whole childhood working on farms to make 5 cents. And all those lessons, as you said, work ethic. Your wife mentioned work ethic. That's where you learn the work ethic.
Yep.
There's not much money in your pocket at the end of the day, but that tired is a...
Too tired to worry about it.
You got it, baby.
Yeah.
So anyway, what else can you tell me about this business that we haven't talked about today? How about shipping? Do you get involved with transporting your own stuff always, or do you have it shipped, or how does that work?
We let Heidi take care of that.
Oh,
Yes, we work with different shippers, but I deliver my own stuff locally usually. But,
Do you?
But a lot of the stuff, like there's a piece on the floor, not sure where that's going yet. That'll be another state. It's for a wastewater treatment plant or something.
Oh, no kidding.
Well, actually, that's for Cobleskill. Is there a prison in Cobleskill?
No, yes, there is, of course.
I think
Yeah.
that's Cobleskill Correctional or something. So, and that's another company that we've hooked up with over the last few years. They sell grinders for the sewer grinders. So we've been making their adapters. This will hold a grinder. They'll bolt that into the trench, and we've designed some other systems for lifting their grinders out of manholes, and so they're just another steady customer.
You don't do any painting here, right?
I did at one time, but no.
Did you really?
Well,
I'm trying to figure where you would use. It depends on what materials, because you don't obviously don't have to paint stainless steel.
We used to build these pump skids. I mean, we just haven't had a call for any, but we painted the frames here. That's where you see everything that was blue. We used to paint our pump skids blue.
Oh, you did?
But and we didn't have a paint booth or anything, so we I had a makeshift thing. I'd use a tarp and exhaust it out of there. But we use a guy in Beekmantown for our painting, and he does a very good job for us.
So do you have your own big air compressors here?
Actually, they supply air.
They do.
Susie has air. I didn't know that, and
I didn't know that
when I first
either.
moved in, I went out and bought a big air compressor. That
Oh,
Bob says, well, we have air here.
No.
Or one of the maintenance guys told me after. So I have. I'm glad I bought it because we've used it on backup when theirs breaks down. But there is air throughout this whole building. So
Isn't that amazing?
so it's nice that they supply that.
I was fascinated when I was here talking to Howard, and I went outside and I saw this great, what I thought was a giant ice sculpture out in the
at
parking
their
lot.
fire-
And
their
I
fire
said, what
pond.
is that? He said, that's our fire pond. He
Yeah.
said, the sprinkler goes 24/7.
How high is it this year?
It looks like it's 20 feet high,
Yeah,
doesn't
I've
it,
got
Calvin?
pictures of it. There
Maybe
was just
20
a
or
little
25?
stream spurting out of the top.
Out of the top, you can see the little droplets of water. Isn't that amazing?
Yep.
But they're set for everything up here. You know, you're
It's-
very rarely without fire or without
nice.
power because they have generators.
Yep.
You got it's quite a complex. It has the history that Calvin has talked about, and it's a tremendous location. We'll wrap it up in just a minute. As shocking as it may sound to many of my friends and neighbors, and even some of my family members, I was a math whiz in high school, and I loved to draw, and I fancied myself a mechanical engineer. And I I matriculated at several schools. Some politely asked me never to come back. I went to Clarkson for a year. Long story short is radio took over where mechanical engineering was because I couldn't pass physics. Here's a guy who made it all the way. John Fillion, how are you?
Good, how are you, Gordy?
I'm so glad to see you because I've known you for a long, long time. I knew you in another life, long before this one, when you were saying, okay, I don't know where I'm going to work next time. But I think you found a home here at Modern Mechanical, John.
I think so.
Yeah. You've got expertise. Where did you go to school?
Clarkson.
You went to Clarkson and graduated?
Made it all the way through.
That's
So
amazing.
I got one on you, Gordy.
You got, I was there one full year before I got that nasty letter. Anyway, we're delighted to have you here today. Make sure you say hi to Cindy and that wonderful, beautiful daughter of yours. How old is she?
She'll be 2 this
I
month.
cannot believe that she's 2 years old already. So, let our audience know what you do in the course of a day, John. Designing, I know a lot of
Yep.
designing, drafting, a lot of stuff that you learned how to do on paper with mechanical drawing, as they used to call it,
Yeah.
is now all computerized.
You know, some days I miss the paper, but
Yeah,
It's
well, we
kinda
saw
becoming
that
a lot,
product on the floor, didn't we?
yep, that's the same platform that you guys looked at out there. A project like this, saved by the bell.
Yeah, no, go ahead. Project like this. We don't
you
stop
know,
for telephones, John.
We started this one right from scratch. I don't know how much John told you about the platform, but
No,
it's
very little.
It's basically given specs by the customer, and this particular customer really had no idea what they were going to want to see for a final product. There's a machine that needs to be enclosed underneath it, and they need to get above it to operate on it. So we worked with the customer, came up with some rough sketches. I come back and try to create this 3D design model and make sure everything's going to fit together. And
That one's even got doors on it, and we knew that the finished product was going to have glass doors on it. That's amazing. Look at this. So that's what that little mouse is for, huh?
Yeah,
I've
that's
never
the extra
seen
mouse.
anything like that.
it's one of the toys John bought me last year.
Oh, isn't that cool? So you knew what you needed. You had some kind of specs, right?
Right.
You knew for height and size and width and all that stuff, and then you went to work. And do you have to get approval of design in the process, or do you finish one and say, how do you like this one, or how does that work?
It depends on the project. A lot of projects, it's a good idea to get approvals before you start building stuff. It's a lot easier to fix a problem when it's here on the screen than what it is when it's out there in the shop already. It's a keystroke for me compared to torches and welders for those guys.
It's amazing the machinery we got to look at today, and John tells me now they got to take it apart so they can transport it.
Yeah.
After they got it all welded together,
Yep.
it's going to be in 3 parts to move it, right?
Right.
How close will that be to completion, I wonder? Pretty soon, I think, by the looks of it.
Well, it's got to be delivered next week, so
Oh, it does? Okay, somebody might have to work overtime. So was this hard for you, John, or was it a piece of cake?
this one was probably medium difficulty.
Yeah.
It's as far as designing it and drawing it, that part was easy, but the coordination to make sure that all the pieces fit together and that it fits in the room, that was a big problem with this one.
That fits through the door. That's
Yeah.
why you have to take it apart.
Yeah, we were out there with a tape measure yesterday checking that.
I bet you were. Yeah, I've moved things in and out of my house that didn't quite fit, where you have to, take the molding off the door, or the whole door off. What's John? Can you remember what are some of the most complicated things you've done? Can you think of any special projects that you said to yourself, "Oh wow, I don't know."
Well, there's been a few. John's done a lot of, the piping skids, the heating and cooling assemblies that I'm sure he probably talked to you about a little bit.
Did a lot of that beforehand, right?
Yep, and a few of those have been interesting.
There's a word you may not want to define today. Interesting, yeah.
A lot of times you get into in this particular industry, you get into a case where the customer's got a limited amount of space, and a lot of things have to happen in that space. And trying to fit everything together, especially when you've got to connect everything together with pipes and hoses, you run out of space, and that's the things that really become complicated here.
Some of the things that you've designed are complicated because they involve pumps and motors and wheels and drawers and doors and,
I can show you one.
I wish you would. Because it takes a very special mind. I kid both Johns here, but they have a capability that I could only dream of in my wildest dreams. Oh, see, I saw her. You got her right there as a screensaver.
Not letting you put my daughter on camera, Gordy?
Yeah, sure, why not? She's beautiful. So how many things have you designed, John, over the years? Hundreds, huh?
Well, we do probably around 100 jobs a year, and I've been here since 2004, so
Oh, there you go.
it's been quite a few things.
So it'll soon be 600. That's about how many programs you and I have done, Calvin.
Yeah.
Or maybe a few more, one a week for almost 13 years. It's truly amazing, and you wonder how mechanical engineers did their jobs before computers. I mean, when I went to Clarkson, there were, of course, no computers. There were slide rules. I still have a couple of slide rules. Do you, John?
I've got one.
Do you really?
Yeah. I don't know where it is, but I know I've got one.
I got a couple of them. Some work better than others. We're talking with John Fillion. What have we got here, John?
Well, you wanted to look at something a little more complicated.
Yes, I did. That's way too. That looks like a Rube Goldberg if I ever saw one in my life. What is it?
That is what we'll call a heating temperature control module. What this does is the orange part in the center is a heat exchanger where the plant supplies steam to one side of it, and it heats like an antifreeze mixture to bring the heated water up to an air handler to heat an area of the building. And what this machine does, there's a lot of components that go along with that: the pumps, the steam collection devices, the steam metering valves, and we pack it all together on one skid unit, so they can bring it in with a forklift, set it on the floor, and hook it up. This is one we did a couple years ago.
That's truly amazing. You had my attention before. Now you have my undying admiration. That's incredible, John. Thanks so much for chatting with us. Thanks so much for showing us a little bit of what you do. Have a wonderful, wonderful day, and hugs to your family, John.
Okay.
See you later. We said it in the beginning, and we'll say it again. Time flies when you're having fun. This has been a wonderful tour of your facility, and I hope you've mentioned a couple of times about things that opened your eyes. I hope our viewers have wide open eyes by the time they finish here, and they have a vastly greater appreciation for the kinds of things you both do. Besides, Heather says, we have fun in here.
Yeah,
we had a good
We
time.
do.
we joke around. We have a good time.
Good people who are not only well-intentioned, but well-organized and very smart people working for you who know what job there is to be done, and you don't have to stand there with the bullwhip.
That's correct.
Because time we
Have a whip?
well, just a shillelagh.
Yeah.
And Heidi's the one that swings that one, right?
Yes.
Yeah. If we could only, it's a good thing we're in
Heidi.
vivid living color. Because just stand up for a minute and get over here and say hello. You don't have to have the whip. You don't have to have the shillelagh.
Have Heidi open her bottom drawer.
I beg your pardon.
Heidi, what's in your bottom drawer?
Oh no. Is it chocolates? She's got the whip, baby! I was being facetious.
She's serious.
Now, if anybody that I ever meet who knows Heidi says she's not faster than the speed of sound, I will disagree because the end of a bullwhip is faster than breaks the sound barrier.
We haven't
and that's
had to
why
listen to it yet.
Really? You don't have any marks on your back or any other parts?
Keeps us in line.
Isn't that funny? See, we'll carry that joke out right to the bitter end.
Yep.
Okay, crystal ball time. What's in the future? We're into 2010 now, early in February 2010. Calvin and I had that argument already last week about what do you call it?
2010.
And you call it whatever she calls it.
Yeah,
that's the
whatever.
way I am. Anyway, we're early in the year. What any dreams or
Survival.
schemes?
No.
Survival's our first one, and
Survival's first, but after that, is there something you'd like to do that you've never done before?
retire. No, we would
We
like to
would-
put our own building up
We have
eventually.
land that we purchased to put our own
No
shop
kidding.
on. but-
Across from Sunny Hill Farm, we own property there.
One of
so.
our favorite places. It isn't even called Sunny Hill anymore, is it?
No.
It's got a
No.
different
For sale.
name on
It's
it.
for sale,
I
but-
was very sad when I drove by the other day. Well, we did a good program there while it was still Sunny Hill Farm. So you got a piece of land.
We've
Yep.
had it for a couple of years, but
You know,
nothing.
long term, we would like to have our own building, but it's a big step, and we don't know.
I would like to tell you that this program alone is worth at least $6 or $7 million in business.
That would be great.
But anyway, Heather, what's the website?
It's www.modmechfab.com, short for modern.
I found that earlier.
Yeah.
I didn't know what to look for. That's
And
my
we're on
manager.
Facebook also, and we have videos that you can look at of some of our machinery, and pictures of what we're doing in current projects, and it's always something interesting going on there.
And on Facebook, you're a photographer. I had no idea. What beautiful photographs. You really enjoy that, don't you?
Yeah, it's one of my pastimes.
That's a wonderful
Yeah.
hobby. And some
Yeah.
of those are very saleable.
It's
We'll hook you
yeah,
up with a framing expert.
That's my retirement.
It is?
Yeah.
Not till next Tuesday, I hope.
No.
Well,
no.
so that's your biggest dream is maybe putting up a building someday.
Yep. It would be nice, but you know this is nice too. I mean, this place is very good for us with all the cranes, and you know it'd be a big step. Right now, leasing something seems to be the right thing. But.
I think you've done well. They say it takes 3 or 4 or 5 years to get established in a business. You've had 11.
Yeah.
So it's about time. No. I'm delighted with what I've seen today. I'm sure Calvin is too. And through his eyes and those of the camera, I hope our viewers get a nice picture of Modern Mechanical Fab, Inc. here on Elm Street
Right.
in Champlain. Best of everything to
Thanks
both
for
of you
coming.
and your
Appreciate it.
families.
Thank
It's
you.
been absolutely charming to meet you. Heidi too.
Scares you a little bit, doesn't
She scares me with that whip. I'll be so careful what I say when I walk in the door. Thanks to John. Thanks to all the nameless workers out there who looked very busy while we were walking through.
Jim and Robert.
Yeah,
Jim
that's
and Robert.
James and Robert.
That's terrific. And thanks to Calvin for doing what he does so well with that camera on his shoulder for all these years. Thanks to all of our viewers for your suggestions. Thank you for your monetary support. Send checks. Have a wonderful day, everybody. And who knows where we're going to be next time for our